and welcome to Dude, Where's My Ramp, the podcast that's all about disability and mental health. Access needs are important to us, so let's begin with some audio descriptions. I'm Chandy. I'm a mental health campaigner and disability advocate. In the episode that you're going to watch, there were some tech issues, so we re-recorded the intro. I was wearing a cream-coloured top with a blurred background that had various pictures on the wall. I have a short ginger beard and hair that's shorter on the sides but a little bit longer on top. And my pronouns are he, him. Emma?
Hi, I'm Emma, and I am a woman in my early 30s. I'm white, I wear glasses, I have long wavy brown hair, and I was in the episode, I'm wearing a Yale sweatshirt that's navy blue, but I'm holding it up right now because I didn't feel like putting it back on because I was going to ruin my hair if I did. So here it is. I'm holding it up.
So description's done. Let's get into our ramp check. So Emma, how's your week been?
Overall, pretty good. I got my new wheelchair it was last week, but it was last Thursday. So I got a new chair. I really like it. It's a little bit of a learning curve getting used to it, but I really like it so far.
And did you name it Stephanie like I suggested?
Okay, I'm choosing between two names. Okay, Stephanie was a good one. Actually, three. So I thought Stephanie was a good one. Another friend said Becky with the good hair, which I thought was funny. And then I also thought just naming it Kevin would be funny. Like Kevin from Home Alone, he's always getting yelled at. Kevin! I feel like I could see myself yelling at my chair. So we'll see. I think I got to take her out to see how she is in public, and then I think it'll just come to me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's sort of like when the right name.
Yeah. It's like what I felt when I named my tumor. Like the name just fits. The name comes organically.
And what was that name again? I forgot. I know you told me though.
Timmy the tumor. It's not very original, but
I love it. And it reminds me, there was a cartoon, Timmy. Was it Fairly Odd Parents? Do you know what that is? Is that too American?
Timmy Turner?
Yeah, that's what that reminds me of. Timmy. They were always he's always getting into trouble.
Yeah, the evil guy in that. I can't remember what he used to do, but he used to shout Timmy at stuff.
And I feel Timmy the Tumor is a good one. I think, what else have I know that my other wheelchairs were named Big Bertha was one of them, and Frank the Tank was another one. And I forgot the other names, but they've been pretty funny so far.
Did you know when they named that boat in boat thing?
Maybe I should name it Bodie McBoatface and really confuse people. Be like, why'd you name it that? I don't know. You and I both are. I got officially diagnosed a few months ago now, but do you also have odd DHD or whatever?
I'm getting the paperwork sorted this week, so hopefully I'll get an assessment soon.
Awesome. Okay, but pretty much, I would say it's pretty safe to self-diagnose if you I don't know. I pretty much trust people when they say, yeah, I'm like, okay, I don't need to see paper. The only thing I feel it's good for is it's good to have a diagnosis in terms of getting services or accommodations, but in regards to it doesn't really change much beyond that. But it is nice to know.
Either way.
Yeah. I guess it's just more I like having the diagnosis for an extra sort of cushion. Well, I've talked enough. My ramp check went in a direction it really shouldn't have. So let's end that and let's have you do yours.
Yeah. So I had an interview, which I think I mentioned the last time we met, and went for the interview. It was all good, and they were like, "Yeah, we love the presentation that you've delivered," and they were like, yeah, but you haven't got the job. And I'm a bit like, part of me is annoyed because I'm like, I thought, as you would do, like when you're getting into a job, like you feel like confident. And I was trying not to be too confident, and then at the same time, like realize that's a learning opportunity.
Yeah.
But then I was just a bit confused as to why I got such good feedback, but then didn't go anywhere.
I have had that happen in job interviews too, and it's bullshit. And I feel like I can't find I don't know why I compare everything to the dating world, but I'm like, you tricked me. You're like a player. Like that's what I think. I'm like, you're a hustler. Like
Players gonna
I feel
play.
cheated.
I just think that like it's not even that like I think I'm the best candidate. It's just the feedback was very. There was nothing kind of bad on the day, and like they even said to me in the call, like you've done really well, but then didn't like. And
That's
then
bullshit.
afterwards, they were like backtracked on it, and they're like, yeah, but like all this stuff, and I'm like, why didn't you mention that on the day?
It's really weird. Yeah, I appreciate transparency with in every area of my life. I that's a value that I have. Um I don't if I'm immediately like seeing that there's a lack of transparency with an employer, like, and that can happen even in the interview process, it doesn't make me have a good attitude about that place. I mean,
Mm,
I'm poor, so like I will take any job pretty much. And that's kind of my attitude is like if somebody offers it, I'm taking it. And that I'm lucky that I'm even able to get jobs because I know a lot of disabled people have difficulty with that because of systemic oppression, not because it's their fault. I want to make that clear. But uh yeah, I think transparency is really essential for a lot of disabled
mm,
people. And so I don't know. And certainly being neurodivergent, it's so fucking confusing.
mm. And I think like they did really like they were really accommodating, and like when I asked for them to repeat the question, they gave me like a printout of all the questions. So like they had accessibility nailed down. I just and there was multiple people going for the same job, but they had like multiple positions for the
Mhm.
same like role. And I don't know. I just there was it felt very like it was going too well, and then I know why. I feel like they were being polite and they were just being, but obviously my neurodivergent spicy behaviors just in my mind were like creating all these like eventualities, like planning already, like if I had the job. But that's just the neurodivergent spicy side of my brain, like coming up with all these different scenarios of what might happen, what like overthinking and stuff, and then overthinking my communication and like overanalyzing everything I said. Like
Yep.
I'm even though I've moved on from it physically, I guess I'm still going back to it when I'm applying for other jobs. Like so,
Yeah.
it's been an interesting week, but my birthday's on Saturday, so we're chilling.
Yeah.
We'll go. Yeah, I don't know. How do you feel about birthdays when you're neurodivergent? Like, I feel like it's like when you're younger. Like my mum used to make a big thing of birthdays, used to plan these events and stuff. As I got older, like I remember inviting all my friends to a birthday party, and like one person from school turned up that wasn't like my best friend because his family were close and they lived nearby. So like he came round, but like one other friend came round, and then I think you start like I panic about social interactions anyway, just because of my anxiety level. So I think birthdays are not always the easiest, I guess, when you're neurodivergent.
I mean, so I liked them growing up. My mom also made a big deal of birthdays and like any holiday, but my mom also just did them very like she did a great job. Like she's artistic and she also I felt like when I came downstairs, she had everything decorated, like the kitchen, like the table and this whole setup. And I never had to ask for like things for my birthday because like she would always
Mm,
just like get me things that I liked. I felt like my birthdays growing up were awesome because my mom really made me feel like the way she like did my birthdays, I always felt seen and understood by her. And there's a lot of thought and care that she put into, like, I mean, my dad was there too, but like my mom was running that show. I know it. Like my dad like cares, and he has given me, I mean, he had a role, but I know that my mom was the one kind of like doing like who led that. But yeah, I think, but and my mom, you know, because it was sort of like the birthday parties were things that she planned and she sort of facilitated. So it wasn't like chaotic, and because there was like a controlled social, like or a controlled environment. So like we had like games that we were going to play. It was like a planned thing. There was an agenda. And so nobody felt left out. And those made it birthdays easy for me to navigate, having them like that. But as I got older, I would say like 6th grade was the last birthday party I had. And that was a really fun party. But after that, you know, like middle school, and it just, you know, I didn't.
What age is 6th grade? What age are you at that point?
I was 13, 14, 13,
Oh, so
right?
that's like our year 7, year 7, 8.
Well, I'm a little old for my grade because I started kindergarten late because that's when I was being like diagnosed with muscular dystrophy. So that's why my brother and I are in the same grade. I should have graduated um, a year before I did. But yeah. Um, uh, but yeah, so I was like 13, and yeah, I don't know. I'm not 12. Like it's not that important to me. Like I appreciate a happy birthday. If somebody wants to give me a gift, that's fine. But like, I, I don't really care anymore. I really don't.
Yeah, I think it
And
just gets.
I find it to be like, honestly, a little bit, because everybody puts so much pressure on birthdays. Like it has to be like amazing. And I feel like socially, people have so many expectations. I get a little anxious. I would rather just like have a night, like go out to dinner with people I'm close with.
Yeah, I think we're going up for breakfast in the morning, and then I'm coming home to have a nap. Because I
That's
was like,
awesome.
can have a nap any day, but it's a birthday nap, so why not? So, yeah, that's exciting. But I think it's just when, and also like everyone's so busy anyway that like planning anything right now is difficult, and it's so expensive to go out anyway. Just not even going out, like just going to the shops. So,
Yeah.
but in
Everything's
the more positive news, I went to go and see Lilo and Stitch.
What'd you think?
I liked it. I think it was good.
Um, I haven't seen it. I mean, I was like, so the cartoon came out in 2002, I think, and I was in 2nd grade, I think. Yeah. And so that was a big movie for my childhood, and I really love that movie. Like I love the cartoon. I have not been impressed with the live like Disney films remakes that they've done so far, so I don't want it to be ruined, but I'm like I do think I probably will end up watching it.
I mean, it's not the same. They haven't stuck entirely to the same premise and like the script, but I would say that on the whole, it is pretty good. It does address some issues that the original addressed, but in a more kind of creative way. Without saying like this, turning into a film review podcast, it is it is very good, and I think um, the issues that people have picked up. Like I just saw a video of Charlie Kirk. I know he's not had a good week with press interviews and stuff. I don't know if you watched the debating at Cambridge Uni.
I heard about it. Wait, what was the controversy? Oh, yeah, well, first of all, like who the fuck, what do you think is going to happen when you go up against a bunch of Cambridge students? Dumbass. Like
But
you did that to yourself.
he posted a video about what Ohana means. Ohana.
Means
And
family. Nobody gets left behind.
but he said that in the new film they've changed like the meaning of it because like without giving spoilers, but I have to. The sister goes away to university.
She does. She leaves Lilo.
They they they. basically what happens is Lilo gets drowned. She drowns.
Wait, do they show it? That's scary.
Not like in a kind of horror movie way, but she does drown. And then she has to go into hospital, but Nanny can't pay the medical bills. So the social worker comes in, who is played by the original Nanny.
Oh,
Like she voiced the original Lilo's sister. She's
oh,
now the
that's
social worker, and she was like, "Yeah, but the state can pay for it if you let us adopt Lilo from you."
wait, that's not how things work in the United States. You can't do that.
And they were like, "We if Lilo is under our thing, then the state will pay for her medical bills." That's how they've kind of pitched it. It's not, and I'm not entirely happy with it, but it's not a bad film. Like the story and stuff, and like because it's not like Lilo can't speak to her sister. Because in the end, they use alien tech to like teleport back home and stuff and see each other. So it's not like they're saying Lilo and her sister are not in contact anymore, and she's saying Lilo, fuck you.
Yeah, but they don't end up like with each other.
Well, in the film, the sister comes home one evening, like they're on FaceTime like we are now, and then she uses alien tech to come and visit her sister, and they snuggle up in bed and hug. So like they are still seeing each other and stuff. It's just not how the original was. And
No,
also jumpers.
I don't like
There's
that ending. I want them to end up together and have all their like alien friends and they like have their house and their like stuff.
well in the thing, there's an old lady who adopts Lilo, who live next door. So it's not like, and they're in Lilo's house. They're not moving house or anything. And also Pleaty's there, but Jumper turns out to be the villain in this film.
What?
Yeah, there's no
I'll watch
Gamsu.
it, but I have a bad attitude about it now. Like I am not, and I also just think like, okay, we're all traumatized enough from what's going on in the world. We need like there not to be like this kind of storyline where Lilo and her sister, like I know they see each other, but it's like they're still being separated. They're supposed to be together, and like I don't know, because particularly in the United States, I think this is true globally, but adoption and the foster care system is really messy, and so it's maybe it's bringing light to
Mm.
important things. I don't know. I would have to ask that community, but like I also think, ooh, like can we like maybe make it nice? Like I don't know.
I suppose I'm looking at it from my social work background, like, and I see it as that
Mm.
she's still staying with her family, like the older relative that lives next door is not directly family, but they are like family, I guess. Like the same way that I call my best friends mum and dad, aunt and
Yeah.
uncle, even though they're not my aunt and uncle.
Okay, so it's sort of like I guess the only way I could be okay with it is it the is it the best thing for both Lilo and Nani?
Yeah, because in the
Okay.
film, Nani can't get a job. She's
Yeah.
fired from her job and then can't find a new job. And Lilo tells her to go and join the Marines, which is a marketing. Because she's like, I don't know why they've done it. It's like a marketing push for the Marines in America. She's like, Nani, you're so clever, and you should go and join the Marines. And then someone says, no, you mean marine biology, because that's what Nani's going to go and study.
Oh, but like no, that it like product placement and like market that is and like but like Disney, you already have enough power. Don't get involved in the military. You fucking crazy. God, that's what we need. Like Disney and the military and the United States military meshing together. That's a nightmare. Oh my God.
I
No.
think we've drifted off topic again.
Okay. Oh yeah. Let's. Okay. So okay, we let's just dive right into the topic. So okay. So today we're going to talk about the models of disability. And I think for those who are not familiar, um, when we say model, it means like a way of looking at disability, a framework. And I think, we'll start with, models of disability. To me, I really should look it up. They've been around, but not for very long. And it was not part of a common disability rhetoric until, I would say, at least in the United States. When I did not hear anything, the word like medical model, social model, ableism, like we didn't have these terms growing up. But these models have existed. The medical model is the one that I grew up. That is the understanding of disability that I was raised with, and that I had to do a lot of deconstructing with. And if you want, I guess we should maybe define it.
Yeah, I was just going to say that the medical model sees disability as a problem of the individual's mind or body. So it's something that can be cured, fixed, or managed by medical professionals. It focuses on disability treatment, rehabilitation, and prevention. And in short, the person is the problem.
Yeah. And so the goal with the medical model is to fix or treat or manage a disability. So if you've ever had a doctor that treats your diagnosis like your identity, so or tell you that you're non-compliant for refusing a treatment that doesn't actually serve your life, that's the medical model in action. It's, to me, I think with a lot of disabilities, there is a medical aspect to it. So I don't think looking at it through, I don't think we should completely ignore a disability's relationship to medicine, and because there is a relationship there, but the level to which the medical model takes it doesn't serve the disability community. It turns disabled people into projects and assumes that the goal is to become like non-disabled. And it teaches, I think, society that if someone can't be cured or fixed, they're disposable. And this is a framework that, like I said, is still very dominant in healthcare, also in education, and it shapes how policies are written. And it even shapes how families understand disability and how disabled people are raised within family.
And I think it lends itself to disempowerment of disabled people and dependency. So rather than saying that you can be an individual that has these impairments and has these things that, yes, treatments can help with, like I would not be here without the medical intervention that I've had in my life because of my tumor. But that's one small fraction and one small part of my life. And to solely define my life based on those surgeries would ignore all of the other aspects of my life, my interests, my hobbies, my other things that I've done with my life. And I think it focuses narrowly on fixing the person rather than making society accessible.
Yeah, and I think it also places doctors and other healthcare providers as the authority figures. So under the medical model, like if all right, so for example, let's say a loved one acquires a disability, right? Everybody is going to go to the doctor to ask questions. They're not going to go to the disability community. They're not going to go to activists. They're not going to really, the authority and the decision makers are coming from the doctors, the healthcare providers, the people who are connected to healthcare and have a position of power. And normally, those are not disabled people. Or if they are disabled, I mean, it's rare that the authority figure under the medical model is going to have lived experience.
And I think it removes the autonomy and the voice of the disabled person from the conversation, because I think we look at disability and we say that, like, you're a problem, and that alone in itself raises a whole number of issues, like around discrimination and what we talked about in the last episode around ableism and the attitudes to disabled people. But I think it, like, especially from my experiences, it puts people into a box that's very rigid and it can't be changed in any way. Whereas if you look at it from a more holistic way and you look at the different aspects of disability in that person's life, you can say that yes, you need medical help, and as you said, like, the medical interventions are there for a reason, to help that person not be in pain and to live well with their condition. But I think if you look at just that and say you can't have a life until that's in place or that's happened, like, people can't put their life on hold. Like, I watched someone talk about this in a video once, and she was like, my life isn't one or the other. Like, there's no on and off switch to disability. Like, for example, someone goes into hospital, has treatment. When they go home, they still have to work, or they have, like, other responsibility, like it might be a parent, or they might have bills to pay. And that doesn't stop the moment that they have a disability, or there's nothing that kind of mitigates that for them. And I think what the medical model has as a limitation is that it pushes all the responsibility on that disabled person, which is a huge burden to carry, both physically and mentally. Because I think, like, it's exhausting to have a disability, and although I wouldn't change having a disability for anything, I think focusing it all as my responsibility makes people feel like they are kind of a burden on society, and that they'd be better off if they didn't exist.
Yeah. And I think, well, the medical model is based on white, cisgender, non-disabled male supremacy. And so that, normal is based off of bodies that are, like, so white, thin, male, neurotypical, without any physical disability. Everything else outside of that is framed as disorder, dysfunction, or deviance. Sorry. And I think it's important. And so I think through the lens of people that are systemically excluded, so whether it's being, disabled, queer, trans, a person of color, neurodivergent, physically disabled, survival has never been guaranteed. And when we do that, like, the entire foundation of the medical model crumbles. So, and I think it's also important to recognize that it erases interdependence, which is really important. And I think one of the most important things that I think disability activists want to make clear about, and normalize. And I think it individualizes what is systemic. So, disability is your personal issue. It's your diagnosis, your treatment, your burden to carry. But I don't think it recognizes, like, pain is, like, it can be political. Poverty can be political. Lack of access, housing, insecurity, risk of being institutionalized. They're not personal tragedies. They're the outcome of ableist systems that are working exactly as they were set up to and designed.
And I think by saying to someone that it's your responsibility, not ours, it kind of removes any chance of things getting better for the future. It just says that no, we're happy with how it is. Let's stick with the status quo. And you mentioned earlier High School Musical when we were like pre-recording and talking about the intro and outro and some of the wording and how we're all in this together. And there's that song and there's how's it go? Stick to the stuff you know. I'm not gonna.
Oh yeah, I love that. That's a good one.
I'll insert a clip. I'm not gonna sing it myself.
Then I'll start singing. It's gonna be a mess if we start on that train.
Oh, in fact, no copyright. We will have to sing it.
Oh yeah.
Look
No,
at me and what do you see? Intelligence beyond.
compare. I love that. But inside I am stirring, something strange is occurring. It's a secret I need to share. I love it. Why do I know that? What the like?
I just. I don't even know the words for the whole song.
I'm always the one that like keeps going. It's so like it's like everybody stopped 5 minutes ago, Emma. Stop singing.
Oh, good. But I think like we don't have to stick to the stuff we know. Like we can make things better because by shifting away from that, and I think one thing that the medical model is also very similar to is the charity model, which says that disabled people are passive recipients of care. They they are to be not to be empowered, but to be cared for. So again, it removes all that autonomy and choice from the disabled person, saying that they need to be cared for to live a meaningful life.
Yeah. And so it's seeing disabled people as victims, as objects of pity, and their disability being the identifier.
And
And
it's a personal tragedy.
it still has that tragedy, yes. And then it assumes that it's the community and society's responsibility to arrange all of the care and services for these like vulnerable people, and also to know what is good for them. Under this model, just like under the medical model, disabled people are not trusted or seen as experts or capable of knowing what is best for them, of making decisions, and of understanding what they need.
And I think where the medical model says that it's your problem, you have to fix it, as you said, like it removes. Yes, it tells me that I'm the problem, but it doesn't give me the right to say what I want and what I need. And similarly with the charity model, like especially within the UK and like looking in isolation right now, like our current government is shifting away from kind of providing that independent support for people to choose that and have that autonomy, and looking more at that medical model of like it's your problem, your responsibility, you deal with it. But looking back in research, like there's things around like how monasteries and monks and like there used to be leaders within the community that would care for disabled people. And again, it's that charity model, but there was more social cohesion and kind of help for disabled people. No, they weren't given the same autonomy and choice that they probably should have had or should be entitled to, but there was more kind of understanding that it's a social effort.
I also think a lot of that is sort of rooted in that was sort of a strategy for colonization. I mean, at least like so I grew up Catholic, and so I know the history of like charities in the Catholic, and like Mother Teresa, she's known as this like awesome lady, and like, but what people don't know is she actually never wanted to like eliminate poverty. She wanted to get more people converted into the Catholic Church. That's what I read. I didn't know her, obviously. Like, I don't know, like maybe that's not true, but I heard some that she, Mother Teresa, she opened up all, and so that, and again, so that's the poor, but like a lot of disabled people are poor, so they're integrated into that community inevitably. And and then we have like the telethons. Whether it I think it's been used as a tool for colonization, and I also think people use charities and use that model to boost themselves up. I have muscular dystrophy, and so one of the largest and most well-known disability-related nonprofits is the Muscular Dystrophy Association in the United States. They had a huge telethon that they aired annually and nationwide for decades. It was hosted by Jerry Lewis, who was a famous comedian in like the early mid 60s, and it was a star-studded event. I mean, like, who didn't do the telethon kind of a thing? But it was really just it was a way for Jerry Lewis to stay relevant, and it was a way for other celebrities to boost their reputation.
Is that inspiration porn aspect of disability, and how disabled person doing something quote unquote normal, it becomes a feel good headline. Like we've got grant making bodies that do a lot of good here in the UK, but they do have like those big off one events every year where it does feel like they get disabled people to be on camera to share their story because they know that's going to get donations. And what bugs me about that is that you're using that person's lived experience to gain funding when you could just, like, there's other ways of going about it to get the same donations and same kind of talked about awareness.
Well, I think I don't agree with it, but I will say that at least like modern charities as we understand it is genius. It's smart. It's a smart thing to do, to have people, to guilt people and pull at their heartstrings to get donations. Not a dumb idea, but it has done a lot of harm. And there's been a complete resistance to finding an alternative way. So the charity model, and again, I in both the medical and the charity model, people have been able to, under these models, not non-disabled people, have been able to place themselves in positions of authority, get a lot of admiration and attention, and they have built, I mean, the stakes for them, they would lose a lot if that were to be, a lot of powerful people would lose a lot if that was if these models were eliminated tomorrow. I mean, looking at who's running a disability nonprofit, it's usually a non-disabled person. And they make a lot of money. I mean, I think people, if you're low, if you're not higher up in a nonprofit, you're not going to make that much money. But the people who are the executives, they make a lot of money. There's a lot of profit that comes from the medical model and the charity model, and it is allowed non-disabled people to have a lot of power, and a lot of and along with that power, they get a good reputation. A politician also has a lot of power, but they don't necessarily have a good reputation or are well liked. Somebody who's running a disability nonprofit, they're golden and they make a lot of money. I mean, it's smart. It's horrible, but it's smart.
I would say that I know that a lot of charities here in the UK that are like user led, that do use lived experience, and they do draw upon people with lived experience in their like board level teams and stuff like that, like the ones that I'm a part of.
Oh, they definitely exist. I don't want to say that those organizations don't exist, but historically the ones that are the most popular, the ones that have the most are these are not. And that is shifting. There will be a shift, but yeah.
And I think one time, I'm just looking at my notes. One thing that all of this does is that the charity model might offer help for a person for a day or for a few days or a few months or years, but without justice and changes to systemic oppression, the world that we live in isn't going to change.
Yeah. And also, I think to add on to that, what it so under the charity model, disabled people have to be grateful for what they're receiving, even if it's not something that they really need or something that they really want, and maybe it's not done correctly, or it's sort of like there's this implied, I'm doing this, I'm giving you something that I have assumed that you need, I know what's best for you, and if you're not grateful for this that I've given you, it's very patronizing, and it's very transactional.
It's almost giving like
Because
a subtle hint, the subtlest of hints of like, just be grateful for it. Otherwise, and if you don't want to say anything, if you want to say something about it, we're not going to listen to you.
people get very offended when, and I struggle with this because of the charity model. I've found that has impacted my ability to assert my needs and or correct or educate people. I'll give an example. There was a situation where a family member took it upon themselves to, like, I've been getting my own transportation for many years. I'm 32 years old. I know how to like rent a wheelchair accessible, or like reserve a wheelchair accessible car service if I need to go like to Connecticut to visit my mom. I know how they work. I'm kind of the expert here. This relative of mine took it upon themselves to like call one company and be like, oh, I found a cheaper company that can take you. It was like a sketchy company. And I was upset because it's like, all right, you didn't even ask me what I needed or like ask for any direction. So you took it upon yourself to like know what's best for me or know what to do. And then you failed. Obviously you didn't, you wasted your time. You didn't do it right. And I felt that I felt this pressure to sort of handhold this relative through correcting and being like, actually, I had to like rewrite an email several times because I didn't want to come off as ungrateful or bitter. And that's learned from things like the charity model, that we have to be, I should have just been able to be like, hey, you know what? That's not helpful. And a little bit like you're out of your lane. I should have been able to just say that, but I felt that I couldn't.
And I think this is where the social model of disability comes in quite well. Because I think it distinguishes I can't even say it. Distinguishes. Is that the word? Yeah, distinguishes the difference between the impairment and the disability. That's but it says that it's the impairments of the condition and the disability is the barriers imposed by society. So it really removes that you're disabled, you're a problem, puts the onus on society as a whole to change. And that's not to say that like we're not ungrateful or whatever, because I think that's something that often non-disabled people will say that, oh no, just being ungrateful. When actually it's not about that. It's about saying, I am impaired. I have these things that are not necessarily, they're not defects. They're things that I live with. And life would be a whole lot better if there was things like wheelchair accessible access, or there was a lift, or there was attitudes and policies were designed in a way that didn't discriminate against me naturally.
I think so. What's great about the social model, because throughout history we've lived, well, not throughout history. It's actually really a eugenics thing. That medical, whereas when the medical model kind of really took a chokehold on our society, but the social model, it moved the focus from the diagnosis to barriers, and it gives disabled people the power to say, like, I'm not a broken version of human life. I am, disabled by your stares, by your policies, by your assumptions, and it helped. I don't know why I want to use the word birth. That's not the word I want to use, but I now I can't think of it. It helped birth the disability rights movement. Ugh, I fucking hate birth. Sorry, it's so gross. And I don't know why I couldn't think of another word, but okay. So it helped that take shape in the United States. So ramps, curb cuts, closed captioning, accessible buses, all of those came out of the social models framework. So if go ahead.
As it emerged in the 1970s in the UK from the disability rights movement. So the UK was kind of one of the first places to really adopt this as a frame of thinking and a way of shifting the focus away from us being a burden.
Did it originate there? Not in the United States? That's so American, like center of the fucking American. Like,
yeah, it says, my notes say it emerged in the 1970s from the UK disability rights movement, especially the Union of Physically Impaired Against Segregation, UPS.
Yeah, they make no mention of that in disability rights history over here. Oh, sorry. That's such an American jerk move. We did it. God, that's cool. That's fun. Okay, good.
I think wherever it was created, I think it makes us, like, I don't know if about you, but when I heard about the social model, I kind of, not overnight, but I started to think more about how actually it's not my problem necessarily just for me to deal with. Like, it's okay for me to ask for help. It's okay for me to ask for adaptations and express my needs and stuff without feeling like I'm a burden.
Right. And so so like if it allows us to assert our needs. I think a lot of what the charity and medical models do is they sort of they place us in a position where we're the burden, or viewed as the burden, and so we have to be grateful, or we have to like take what we get. But the social model allows us to demand, to have our needs met, and to also not just have our needs met, but also like demand a way to participate in a way that's meaningful for us. But and I think that was really important. I think society, having just been, we've all been negatively impacted by eugenics, but that really sort of was a huge shift in how we view disability, and it allowed disabled activists to pave the way for the kind of world we live in now, which there's still a lot of shit, but I will say I would not have wanted to be born any earlier than I was. 1993 was like solid.
And I think even like going back 60, 70 years, like disabled people were not allowed to live with their family. They were made to live in these institutions and stuff where it was that charity model in full effect. Like, you saw these wealthy people opening these homes up to like the sick and the unwell and like the people that have impairments, because they saw it as a good deed, and it would kind of, no matter how bad they were as a person or what other business interests they had, providing this care and support for disabled people somehow corrected all of that, I guess, is somewhat
Yeah.
of the right framework to say.
Like, have you ever seen, actually I just watched it. It's I I think it's a Irish movie, but it's called Rory O'Shea Was Here. It's with James McAvoy.
I'm not
It's from
seeing
like
it.
2000. Really? It's from like 2005. It's James McAvoy plays a, a young adult with Duchenne muscular dystrophy, and he's having to, I think it's supposed to be Ireland, yeah. And maybe, yeah, but he is having to go into an institution, like a nursing home for disabled people, and it's about him and his a friend that he meets in this nursing home, like, and their sort of um quest for freedom. And it's a I think it really, what I like, even though James McAvoy is not disabled and he plays a wheelchair, like, it was 2005. I'm not gonna, like, it was like, I'm not gonna throw a fit about it. And plus, I love James McAvoy. He's really hot, so I don't mind. I don't mind
I'm
it.
gonna look at that and
I
send it
kind of
to
like him
him.
in a wheelchair.
I'm
But
definitely clipping that and putting it on YouTube and sending it to him.
do it. But I think that character, you should, by the way, you should watch it. It's really good. But that character, I felt, is a great sort of, it was written in a way that really, I think, does a great job of showing, like, how suffocating that is to be controlled in that way, and to live under those models of disability. And yeah, and it's just, and also just, there's nothing worse than, like, some, like, old Irish lady, like, at a nursing home, like, being like, no, I'm not going to style your hair like that today. Like, like, you just, no. And she seems so sweet, but no, they're not. No.
Have you seen probably a stupid question, but have you seen Happy Gilmore?
Yeah, I've seen it.
In the nursing home, when the Ben Stiller's character, where he's like a carer in the home, and
Yeah.
the attitude that he has when there's a family member around, like, oh yeah, it's so lovely here, like they get all the choice, they all the thing, and then the second the family's not around, like he's very aggressive and stuff towards.
It's true though. It's like, I know it's a comedy, but, like, that really happens.
And it's a really good example about how, like, it's almost like when someone's disabled, there's automatic assumption that they don't know what they want. They have no wishes, no desires, no motivations. And they only don't have that necessarily because they've been made to believe a certain opinion about themselves because of their disability. And what I would say, just as a contrast to some of the strengths to the social model, is that sometimes it can downplay the lived experience of pain and chronic illness, and it can oversimplify some of the interplay between body and environment. So I don't think that it's a perfect solution or like
No,
anything like that.
I've talked to individuals with, like, I think that would be like endometriosis, which is a very painful condition to live with. It really does, it's debilitating for
Mm.
people that have endometriosis. And um I and I'm not speaking from assumption. I'm directly, like, passing along what I have heard in these discussions, and what's been told to me is that yeah, it's actually, the condition itself is disabling, and they would like to not be in pain.
Mm.
And I think that's totally real. And I think, so with a lot of also just chronic illnesses like where you know, like Lyme disease, or I'm trying to think, endo, chronic fatigue syndrome. It's not called, there's the real medical term is something that I cannot read. I don't know how to say it. It starts with an E. But yeah, those are all, you know, and again, I don't have any of those conditions, so I really can't tell you, like, you know, I have no thoughts on that myself. That needs to come from those communities, but it's not black and white, you know. I have my disabilities. I don't see them as something I need to be fixed or cured. I'm not in pain physically. I don't, you know, like I don't need to be at the doctor. Like I like never have to go to the like doctor. Like I have a pretty like my immune system's pretty strong. I don't know how I haven't died, honestly. Like I should have gotten the bubonic plague by now. I don't get it, but whatever. But like, yeah, I think there is a difference there, and there needs to be flexibility. And I think that's another point, is like the idea that we can look at disability through one framework, I think is a mistake. I think that's where ultimately us trying to figure out like what's the formula. Disability is sort of, it's because it's so there's so much diversity and differences within the disability community. I don't, and there's not one way to be disabled. Everybody defines it sort of. I don't think you can really shove it into a box like and definition. I think flexibility is key. So I personally think that using models, I don't think we're ever going to find one that fits everything. I think we need to be open to maybe considering a few different models.
And I think just before we finish, I think it is important to also note there's like lesser known models of disability that we haven't talked about in as much depth. Like there's a Zeka model, and that's a model that blends intersectionality, neurodiversity, and principles of social justice together to kind of look at disability and focus on the dynamic situational nature of disability and how it shifts based on context, identity, and power structures. So it really, like what you talked about there, it doesn't just look at one thing in isolation. It looks at every aspect, and also where I might be impaired in one situation, in another, those barriers might not be there, and so I still have my impairments, but I'm not so disabled. So it looks at how that and how the context of things. And I think when we look at any of these models we've talked about, I think it's really important to note that we're not saying that we like one more than the other. I think it's just we got to look at all aspects of it when talking about disability, and that's hard when you're like going about your day and maybe you meet someone that's disabled, because you're not, like, in your head you're not necessarily going through all these different points of like how's this impacting my conversation. But I don't think you need to. I think it's just about being mindful of the fact that someone can be disabled and have impairments, but it's not necessarily them that's the problem. And having that attitude moves you away from possibly being ableist towards them.
Well, I think it comes down to agency, and it's sort of like maybe somebody really thinks that about their disability, that it's a horrible, that might be true for that, like but it's that these narratives are not they're not controlled by the disabled people. They're controlled by everybody outside of that experience. And so, like, for example, if I say having muscular dystrophy is the worst thing in the world, oh my God, this is like hell on earth, it needs to be fixed, blah, 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 all that. I can say whatever I want. I can say that. It's my life, it's my body. But for other people to mirror that don't have my lived experience, go, yeah, totally. Yeah, no, you're right. That's not okay. And I think that's the dynamic that exists, you know? And again, that calls to question, like, are these negative feelings that people have towards disability, are they organic, or were they projected onto them?
I think there's definitely so much we could look into in terms of the models and how they interplay with one another. But I think when we talk about disability and when we talk about all of these different, like whether it's the charity model, the medical model, the social model, whatever, like there's still a person in the middle of all of this. And I think that's something that's often forgotten when we talk about disability, is that it's still a person with lived experience.
Yeah. And I think really, to kind of wrap up, there's still so much about disability that we don't know. So I don't think, I think in my own lifetime alone, so much has changed, so much information has been gained. So I guess I would just I am anticipating that we're never going to be able to come to a conclusion about disability, because I think will always be challenged. I think the world will always be challenged because something new about disability will enter the picture. And I also think no matter how we talk about it, at the end of the day, it's about respect, and it's about allowing those who have these experiences develop their own relationship with disability. I think that is a disabled person's right. And it's not for anybody else to really discuss. I mean, no, they can be part of the discussion, but like, you can't have the mic before me. You can't control the conversation. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Allow that person to be at the forefront and take you with them on that journey, not dictate that journey to them. Well, with that, that's a wrap on this episode of Dude, Where's My Ramp? Thanks so much for spending time with us, listening, reflecting, and sharing in these real life, honest conversations about disability, access, and the everyday challenges and triumphs that we face. We hope you found something meaningful in today's chat, whether it's made you laugh, sparked some ideas, or maybe even brought up some tough feelings. That's okay. These conversations aren't always easy, but it's important to acknowledge that. If anything we've discussed today has triggered difficult emotions, memories, or mental health struggles, please know that you aren't alone. We've included a list of support resources in the show notes with trusted organisations in both the UK and US who are there to listen, help, and guide you. We want the podcast to be a safe, supportive space. If you ever want to reach out, share your story, or connect with us, find us on social media. We'd love to hear from you. If you've enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing, leaving us a review wherever you listen. It really helps us to reach more people. Don't forget to share this episode with friends, family, or anyone you think that could benefit from hearing about disability rights and access. The more we spread the word, the louder our collective voice becomes. We'll be back soon with more episodes, more stories, more laughs, and yeah, probably more rants about ramps, buses, and everything in between. Until next time, take care of yourself and each other. Remember, we're all in this together. Either High School Musical music. Emma?
What team? Wildcats. No.